Either way, it's so big, it's so massive. It's the one secret he's not going to leak himself just yet. Make that make sense. But we know we can expect Donald Trump's primetime address on Thursday to be dangerous for our country, to be part of a string of his consistent assault on American elections and American democracy.
After Thursday, because this is important for people to understand. This is just part of could be, we don't know what's in the speech exactly, but everything we've seen from reporting could be laying the predicate here to do further investigations, to seize more ballots. Where do you think it goes?
I think that he is trying to create some pretext for an abuse of federal power, trying to create cover for state and local allies to get up to no good in those jurisdictions, and try to lay the groundwork for some kind of potential challenge to the results. That's what I think his goal is. But I think they're divided within the White House and the administration on this. And here's what I would say. If you're working in the Trump administration right now, if you're, say, CIA Director John Ratcliffe, and you see what's about to happen, that they're going to selectively declassify some nonsense to try to lay the foundation for some kind of mischief. This is the last chance to jump ship and speak out, because you will be forever tainted by your association with these kinds of shenanigans.
It's all a lie. It's all been a lie. The man is a loser, and losers typically don't like losing. And in that reality, they find ways, if they can, to rewrite the story and tell. You've heard, you guys, we've all had the conversation with that brother, and you're hearing, you go, well, wait a minute, I was there, and that's not what happened. What? No, that's not the way that went down. I'm sorry, she wasn't even in the room. And that conversation is what this is like with Donald Trump, because it's over and over and over again, the lying, the capitulation by those who support the lie. The only way it stops is the American people. Y'all going to be lied to on Thursday night.
John Ratcliffe is currently the CIA director. And to your point,
he was the DNI in 2020.
He was the DNI in 2020 and made it clear that, for example, when it came to China, made no assertion that there was direct Chinese interference that would have changed the vote outcome of the 2020 election. And I think that this is important when we take into account Tulsi Gabbard is no longer the director of national intelligence. And I just want to read a quote to you from a current administration official who is emphasizing that we need to consistently talk about Bill Pulte and John Solomon, the former journalist turned special government employee. Both of those men brought in 1 month ago into these roles. And the way that it's framed to me is that essentially John Solomon is the one that is pushing a lot of the conspiracy theories, then claims that there is raw material that the intelligence community has access to that they're not released, and that he is the one putting this into the ear of Donald Trump, that there is actually evidence that would support his claim that the election in 2020 was stolen. But then it's Bill Pulte, the current director of national intelligence, the acting one, who is essentially the one that has promised the president, we are told by multiple sources, is the one that is essentially doing whatever it takes to carry it out. The quote, I just want to read to you. We're publishing on ms.now right now, but we wanted to get this on air. Quote, this is an administration official who has been familiar with the raw intelligence available across the intelligence community, and that is, quote, it's that network of people, referring to Solomon and Pulte, that is the real effing problem. They try to put bits and pieces together and then make these conclusions. Everything I have seen, it's not what's there. And the reason that I'm emphasizing this is the fact that for the first time, I would say in the second Trump administration, to your point, Nicole, there are factions within this White House. And there is one faction that is clearly winning out. And it is that Bill Pulte, John Solomon faction, those that have lifted up and supported claims made by people like Michael Flynn. And in the last months, they have had greater access to the president of the United States than ever before. And it is people like Susie Wiles and other in this administration that have effectively last year, I am told, saw all of this, essentially the assessments from people like John Ratcliffe and Tulsi Gabbard, and knew what was available through the intelligence community and clearly made the determinations that there was not enough to go public at that point in time. Fast forward to June of 2026, Donald Trump has turned to two people who have made the commitment to do just that for him. And that is what is happening now. It's those two individuals that are making good on what the president has demanded for 5.5 years.
Congressman, Donald Trump is scheduled to give a big rant to spew election conspiracy theories on Thursday. Do you think that TV networks should run it? Do they have an ethical obligation?
A big ad?
Rant, like, a speech. He's basically doing made-for-TV broadcasts about election fraud and conspiracy theories and all the rest on Thursday.
I don't think our election. And so I think that, many news outlets oftentimes may receive transcripts. And I think that we have an ethical obligation to not air things that undermine our election, that are not rooted in evidence and fact. And so, of course, it depends on the contents of his speech, but that's my take.
Tonight, anonymous officials inside Donald Trump's White House are raising alarms about the president's big speech on Thursday. MS Now reports that in his speech, Trump will focus on false claims about voting machines and foreign influence in American elections. He'll also, at least the plan is as of now, release related to classified intelligence documents with the help of that guy, Bill Pulte, and other cronies willing to spread conspiracy theories about 2020. At least that's the plan. We'll see what happens by Thursday.
Wednesday, 15 July, year of our Lord 2026. The reason Chris Hayes leaves it as an open question is that there's obviously a big move inside the Trump administration to make sure that Thursday doesn't happen. And right there, I'm actually stunned how brazen certain White House officials are in essentially using their names to thwart this. Vaughn Hilliard, I think, outed them, but we'll get to more of that in a second. John Solomon, thank you for joining us. Appreciate you, and appreciate all the work, and the country appreciates all the work you've been doing. Of course, I haven't talked to you in a couple of days, and the reason is we've been hunkered down trying to make sure that we can frame this properly so the president has a shot on Thursday. But your name's been taken in vain by certain White House personnel that have come to me and said that you're causing all kind of problems. Can you give us some observations on that, sir?
Well, if truth is a problem, then I'm a problem, I guess. If you're worried about truth, then you should be concerned, because we're going to put, the president will put some significant truth out there. Listen, over the last couple of days, I was formally accused of leaking something to you when I haven't even talked to you. The only time we've talked in the last week was over planning a special coverage event. We haven't talked about any of my work. I turned down every opportunity to go on your show because I'm busy. I'm just in the room doing the work. So yeah, people come out and they accuse you of something that's not true. I didn't see your show yesterday. Is there anything on your show that I gave you yesterday?
Absolutely zero. But you can tell with MSNBC, let's be blunt. Senior members of the Trump White House, and MSNBC has already framed this. They've been given this 72 hours in advance. They framed this now. It's disinformation. It's lies. You see Vaughn Hilliard, Rode, all of them are already saying, not even seeing the evidence, not even seeing what has come up with. It's lies. It's disinformation. AOC is begging channels from around the country not to take it. Yet senior White House officials are quoted by the one network that's the biggest enemy to the president of the United States and has stirred up a lot of the hate and discontent that have led to the attempted assassination attempts on him, like in Butler, Pennsylvania. They continue to stir it up, and they are actively trying to stop the program that you've been brought in for a task force and Bill Pulte. Any observations? I've never seen anything like it, quite frankly, and I think there needs to be a major house cleaning after Thursday night, sir.
I'm sure the president will do the right thing. I can't talk about the speech. Normally, I'm a journalist, I could, but in this case, I'm working as a special government employee, unpaid. And but I will say this: you could do the country a favor. Take two clips. First, the first clip of that NBC moron insulting me. Send that to me so I can send it to my lawyers, because I think after Thursday night I'll have a good litigation case against them. And then to the Department of Leaks at the White House, just send them your clips so they know that nothing on your show yesterday came from me. They can maybe go back to focusing on the president's business. Think about this. Yesterday, we had the largest drop in inflation in 6 years. We have the president doing one of his few primetime presidential addresses. We have war in Iran, and people were calling you asking if I was leaking to you. The answer is no. I'll take a polygraph. I'll let you sweep my phone. But shouldn't you be focused on what the president's business is instead of these petty grievances? That's what I would say to those people. Meanwhile, there's important news that's happening every day. You see what Chuck Grassley just put out yesterday with Senator Ron Johnson, and they deserve a lot of credit for doing this. 44 members of Congress had their personal text messages taken by Jack Smith, and according to the records, not even following the rules that protect for separation of powers. Now, if that turns out to be true, that's an incredible abuse. But there weren't 44 members of Congress who were prosecuted. By the way, there were 0 members of Congress. But people like Lindsey Graham and Senator Grassley and Senator Johnson, who were chairmen, had their messages grabbed by a prosecutor for unexplained circumstances. That is a dragnet that invades the privacy. And if they can do it to that powerful of people, imagine what they could be doing to you and me. And so these are the stories that should matter. These are the stories that administration officials should care about. These are the stories that civil libertarians should care about. These are the stories that news media should be focused on. But they love anonymous stories because they can always claim afterwards their sources just weren't right. I guarantee you on Monday morning, people will wake up and they will feel good that the president gave a primetime speech. I'm sure of it. He's going to say what he's going to say, but they pick primetime speeches because they're important. So I'll leave it at that and let the American people judge, but I think there'll be plenty there.
I think the White House should understand is that the people at MSNBC were not shy about sending around to everybody exactly who they've been talking to, so we know who they've been talking to. We know who these anonymous sources
That's unfortunate
are.
to hear. Yeah. Well, listen, Washington has been full of leaks.
They went to the enemies of the. Let me be blunt. They went to a network that has driven the hate and dissension in this country that led to the assassination attempts on the president of the United States. They went to them and privately briefed them on what's going on. You and Bill Pulte, to me, are in 4 weeks. You guys are eligible, to me, should be nominated for the Presidential Medal of Freedom. What you guys have accomplished in 4.5 weeks is more than we did in the first administration and more than we've done in the first year and a half of this administration, with people who were specifically empowered to go do this and failed to do it. And as MSNBC tells us, people knew this information and suppressed it. John, you and Pulte deserve the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Listen, there's they want us to talk about the leaks. That's why they're baiting us into these things. I'm going to stay focused on the truth and the facts and the information and the project that the president was kind enough to give me. I think when people say the facts, there's no amount of interpretation that the spin nicers can do. The facts are the facts. By the way, there's a large number of people who have worked on this. This is not 2 people or 1 person or 7 people. It's a group of trained intelligence experts who've gone through this. We're very careful. You'll see how careful we were. But they want us to focus on the fake. They want us to get into disputes with each other. I think we should focus on the truth. Keep our eyes looking forward. When you look in the rearview mirror, you end up crashing your car sometimes. Just stay focused on the truth, what the future is. I think Americans will wake up next Friday and the Friday after that and the Friday after that being informed in ways that they weren't, and they can make their own minds up. I trust the American people to make up their minds regardless of what MSNBC or whatever they call themselves today does. They're smart. The American people are smart. They will absorb this and they'll make the right decision.
John Solomon, I want to thank you for all the work you've been doing. You're wearing 2 hats. You still got the show going with Amanda. It's fantastic. And you've been doing 20 hours a day in this volunteer job. And I know the president appreciates it and the country and appreciates it. And MAGA.
It's an honor to do it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for jumping on this. I appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem. Bye-bye.
You know, this is going to get us back to figure out the taping that Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan brag so much about in the Situation Room. We have these verbatim quotes. Something quite dark is happening at the White House. Let me be blunt. And here's the beauty. They got no leverage on the war room. This is Roger Ailes and Fox in August of 2015. Don't owe them nothing. We're going to do what we're going to do. This information is going to change the direction of politics. And yes, it is laying a predicate to save this nation. If you're not up for that fight, then get the hell out and move on. In the war room, we're ready for the fight. We're going to take a short commercial break. Other fights, DHS blinked right away. President of the United States came out and said, hey, we're still going to be stopping cars because we're going to do mass deportations. Mike Davis joins us next.
Much, Chairman Grassley, and thank you, Senator, for that introduction. I appreciate you and your friendship. Good morning, Chairman Grassley, Ranking Member Durbin, and the other members of the committee, thank you for having me. As Senator Durbin said a minute ago, I would like to offer each of you my condolences for the loss of your colleague, Senator Graham. He was a patriot and a friend to so many of us. It's a loss for the American people, and I think honoring him today, and as he's been honored for the past several days, is the right thing to do. 17 months ago, I sat at this table as the nominee to be the Deputy Attorney General, and I told you that serving in the Department of Justice was my American dream. Since then, I have helped lead it, first as deputy and now as acting Attorney General, and I'm here today to earn your trust once more. I've lived the American dream. I waited tables to get through college, moved to New York with my wife and 2 young kids, went to law school at night, read textbooks on the late train home while I worked days as a paralegal at the U.S. Attorney's Office. From that start, I became a prosecutor and spent 9 years prosecuting violent gangs and drug dealers. I rose through the ranks of the Department of Justice as a line prosecutor, then a division chief, then as of last year, Deputy Attorney General, and now Acting Attorney General. But I did not take that path for a title. I took it to make a difference for American families and the towns they call home. I am exceedingly grateful to President Trump for his trust, and to my family who have carried me through every long day and late night. My wife, Christine, our wonderful children, Sydney and Justin, my granddaughter, Blanche, who's here today, all of them are here today, my wonderful friends, many of whom are here today, are really what make this worth it and what gets me through my days. And so I want to thank them for not only being here today and supporting me, but also being with me every step of the way in the journey that we're on together. My family's blessings should be available to all Americans. When a family can send their kids to school, walk their neighborhood after dark, and build a life without fear, every promise of the American dream is within reach. When they cannot, none of it is. That's my job, securing safety for every American. I'm pleased to testify again today to tell everybody here that we are doing just that. We are keeping America safe. Since President Trump took office, it's been said a few times this morning already, but it bears repeating, murders are down roughly 20% nationwide. We have the lowest murder rate since 1900. Violent crime arrests are up nearly 114%. We've taken almost 5,000 child predators and human traffickers off the streets. And the Department of Justice has filed nearly 100,000 indictments and informations since January 20th, 2025. Additionally, in just the last 4 weeks, in just the last month, we've paid $96 million in claims through the Public Safety Officers Benefits Program to eligible surviving families of fallen public safety officers, even while fewer law enforcement officers were killed in the line of duty than the prior years. And obviously, these are not just numbers. Each one is a family that still has its son or daughter and an officer who came home for dinner. If you look at Washington and Memphis as examples, where we have worked with federal, state, and local partners, pulling thousands of criminals off the streets in those 2 cities. Homicides in D.C. are down about 60%, and overall crime in Memphis declined by more than 40%. We've seized thousands of illegal guns, brought more than 150 missing children home in those 2 cities, and cleaned up parks and spaces family once avoided so you can take your kids and loved ones there once again. We are enforcing our borders. We are prosecuting the smugglers who profited from an open border, removing criminal aliens, and dismantling gangs like MS-13 and TDA. We're smashing the cartels and ending the scourge of drugs in our communities. We designated the major cartels as foreign terrorist organizations because that's exactly what they are. And we're using every tool that unlocked: narco-terrorism charges, forfeiture, and extraditions. Dozens of cartel leaders are now in American custody. Drug seizures are skyrocketing, and overdose deaths are finally falling. We are protecting taxpayers. Last year, the department brought the largest healthcare fraud takedown in American history, more than $14 billion, and another $11 billion in total fraud in just the last 3 months. That's money stolen from the fisc, stolen from Medicare, from seniors, working families, and we're clawing it back. We're doing all of this, I will add, through partnership. Federal agents, state troopers, county sheriffs, local officers, and state attorneys general in your home states, all pulling in the same direction. That is what happens when we fight crime together, and I want to bring that model that we've done in a few towns to more communities in every state. Above all, we are restoring American trust. In recent years, we watched the Justice Department turned against many of you and a former president, and it damaged the public's faith in justice. We are fixing that. Members of this committee on both sides have fair questions about the hard debates of the past year, and I welcome them. I'm proud of what we've done to help American families see safer streets and to have a fair shot at the life they're working to build. None of this is a Republican or Democrat issue. Every senator here has constituents who just want to be safe. The men and women of this department are the finest people I have ever worked with, and leading them is the honor of my professional life. We are keeping America safe, and we are just getting started. I love this country. I love the Department of Justice. Thank you very much, Chairman, for the opportunity to appear before this committee today, and I look forward to answering your questions. Thank you.
Okay, Mike, I'm going to hold you through this break because we've got other stuff to get on about Department of Homeland Safety. But, and I don't think, the Warren Posse knows it, but I don't think Americans know it, and most Republicans don't. Todd Blanche is a good man. And in the darkest days, you know, you were there with us, in the darkest days of 21 and 22, when no law firms, when the powerhouse law firms that I had paid millions of dollars to told me that they had to fire me, not because of me, but because their corporate clients were telling them they could not represent President Trump or people that were closely associated with President Trump. I go, what? They go, yes, our corporate clients said they're going to walk if we continue to have you, Trump, and a handful of others as clients. Todd Blanche, working at a very prestigious, and he's, he comes from a hard scrabble kind of, working class. He did law school at night. He gets a partnership at a prestigious white shoe law firm, and he goes to them, hey, I've been asked to represent the former president of the United States and a guy who's going to run again, and, he's been persecuted, et cetera, et cetera. And they go, hey, fine. If you want to do that, there's the exit. Mike Davis, tell us about Todd Blanche.
Todd Blanche is a bold and fearless warrior. As we say, he's exactly who should be leading the Justice Department. He is the right man at the right time for the right job. As you said, Steve, Todd Blanche worked his way up the legal food chain. He put everything on the line to support and defend President Trump when no one else would do it, because Todd Blanche saw a grave injustice, a republic-ending injustice against a former president of the United States. And he gave up his white shoe law partnership in New York, started his own boutique shop with Emil Bovee, who is now a judge on the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, and they teamed up with Boris and Will Scharf and John Sauer and outside groups like the Article 3 Project with you, Bannon, and we fought this unprecedented Republican lawfare, and we won. And Todd was the tip of the spear. He was in many courtrooms all over the country defending President Trump. And now he's the Deputy Attorney General of the United States after serving as a former federal prosecutor and paralegal in the Southern District of New York. He's done that job well.
Think about
He has all the powers of the AG. Now he's the acting AG, and he's going to be confirmed as our next Attorney General by August recess with the help of the War Room Posse. Going to Article3Projects.org, take action, light up both of your home state senators, Democrat and Republican, and tell them to confirm Todd Blanche as President Trump's next Attorney General.
We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that punchline, but I'm going to bring you back. And here's what we're going to do. There's two phases of Todd Blanche. The courage to step into the breach when the odds look long and look like they were sending President Trump to prison. Remember that? Does everybody forget that? The mugshot? Send him to prison to bankrupt him. That's one. Then the second is in the years in the wilderness, we had a chance with the people at Heritage, American First Law, CRA, Russ Vogt, and Mike Davis at the tip of the spear to say, no, this is the true power. Trump is coming back as the true chief executive, commander-in-chief, and chief magistrate and chief law enforcement officer of the United States government. Those years in the wilderness were absolutely central to the theory of the case that underpins President Trump's presidency, of which, as Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche was the tip of the spear. There are two things here. For his courage and bravery, and it has not been perfect. Nothing's perfect. As you know, as the War Room Posse knows, Mike Davis on the other side.
Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
I want to thank our sponsor, Birch Gold. Particularly, we do these. We're going to go in and out of the hearing today, the confirmation hearing. Also, our own Steve Gruber's down there. McCabe's in Pennsylvania with the president. He's having at Carlisle Barracks, the Army, the great Army War College up there, and also, I think, still Armory. He's going to do a defense industrial today, a presentation. We'll cover that live, soup to nuts. Birchgold.com, birchgold.com/Bannon, end of the dollar empire. Philip Patrick's going to be with me on Saturday. We're going to go through these deficits, the debt, what's happening to the dollar, the Middle East, all of the economics of all this. So make sure you see us on Saturday. Also, I want to thank Birch Gold, a great sponsor, particularly who's been doing Charlie Kirk's the evidentiary hearing last week for all week, and then everything that's going on today, particularly with these hearings, birchgold.com. I'd also take out your phone. It's maybe easier, just text my name, Bannon, at 989898. Get the ultimate guide for investing in gold and precious metal. It's a good starter. All the information from Birch Gold is free, and it has no obligation. You don't have to do anything. That's why I just learn. If you want to just get into the phase of learning, now's the time to learn. But get to Philip Patrick and his team. Mike Davis, there's two parts of this. One was the defense of the president and seeing up close and personal lawfare and everything the illegitimate Biden regime was doing. The second part is actually in those years in the wilderness, as we built up the case, number one, for why it was logical for President Trump to come and try to reverse the damage done by the illegitimate Biden regime, which we'll get to in a moment, about the 20 million illegal aliens they actively worked to get into the country. Also, the theory was, what was really the office of the president? What did the founders deem it to be, and what it should be, particularly as it goes in regards to the Justice Department? You know, number one, chief executive can fire anybody, hire anybody. He can cut the budget. Number two, or cut spending with rescissions and other means. Number two, he's commander in chief, and the real expanded powers of what being commander in chief is. And number three, and the one that DC hated the most, was he's chief magistrate and chief law enforcement officer. And this is why in the second or third day of his second term, he went over to the Justice Department and say howdy. And they melted down as he went into the temple of like the Vestal Virgins, right? Your thoughts about Todd Blanche's journey in both of those, because he's been at the tip of the spear in the government of implementing the expanded or the real Article 2 powers of the office of the president, sir?
Todd Blanche is uniquely qualified to serve as the next attorney general in this most crucial time. Todd Blanche has been in the belly of the beast. He was a paralegal in the Justice Department while he went to night school to get his law degree. He's been an assistant U.S. attorney, a federal prosecutor, a line attorney in the prestigious Southern District of New York. He was a unit chief. He knows how the Justice Department works from the line attorney and paralegal level. He went and defended President. He's been at big law firms, New York law firm. He defended President Trump against this politicized and weaponized Biden Justice Department that started under the Obama Justice Department, Biden and Obama White House Justice Department intel community. And so he's been the Deputy Attorney General, the number 2, the Chief Operating Officer for the last 16 months nearly. That he has all the statutory powers, almost all the statutory powers as the AG. He was able to fire the bad people, hire the good people, close the bad cases, open the right cases. He hired Joe DeGenova, for example, as the acting attorney general. He's been the acting attorney general for several months. This guy, Todd Blanche, knows exactly what we need to do to make sure that our Justice Department, our intel agencies are never politicized and weaponized against political enemies again. And that requires serious reforms, which Todd has been doing since he got there, and accountability, which is definitely has happened with the hirings and firings and closing of cases and opening of cases, and will definitely come under Joe DeGenova, who Todd Blanche hired to help Jason Redding Quinones down in the Southern District of Florida. We see the public reporting of the grand juries opening in Fort Pierce, Fort Lauderdale. The grand juries are operating in Miami as well. You see reporting about subpoenas going out. Accountability is definitely on the way. Justice is definitely coming, as it must, so we can get the Justice Department back to prosecuting real criminals, including violent criminals, including migrant criminals, real criminals who are harming real Americans in real America. Instead of going after Trump, his top aides, his allies, his supporters, parents, Christians, as we saw under the Biden Justice Department, we're going to turn our Justice Department back to fighting for Americans under Todd Blanche.
And today, look, he's going to get eviscerated because they're going to relitigate every move that the Trump administration has made. We're going to give you highlights of that and maybe dip into live as we get through this. I got it. When we talk about the prosecution of President Trump's, the central beating heart was to reverse the illegitimate regime of Biden working in conjunction with NGOs and dark money from overseas to basically structure an invasion of our country of at least 20 million illegal aliens. Now, part of that is, what do? We've sealed the border, but what do? You get criminals, you get the bad hombres, but you've also just got 20 million here. DHS has been right now with Bavino gone. ICE has kind of been working with one hand behind their back. There was an incident in Maine, and immediately we fell into the left-wing trap of that. We're going to no more traffic stops whatsoever. Walk me through that, because that's now been reversed by a guy called the Commander-in-Chief. President Trump's come out and said, what are you talking about? Of course we're going to have this. But just go through the mindset of how we continually fall into this trap of trying to appease the Georgetown cocktail set, and MSNBC is not going to be appeased. They haven't even seen what's going to be released tomorrow night. They are saying it's lies, it's phony, it's Trump trying to steal the 2020 election, all of it. So tell us what happened on this DHS situation.
Well, let me just say this directly to Markwayne Mullin, who is President Trump's new Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. You work for President Trump. You don't work for Senate Democrats. You don't work for Susan Collins. And President Trump has a broad electoral mandate, 312 electoral votes, all 7 swing states, kept the House, won a comfortable margin in the Senate because of immigration as a key issue. The American people want illegal aliens the hell out of our country. And not just the worst of the worst, all of them. We had an invasion of our country under Joe Biden, 20 plus million people who destroyed our sovereignty. We've been fighting like hell to make sure that President Trump has the right team in place. We've been fighting like hell against the judicial sabotage. We get to the Supreme Court, we win monumental cases on temporary protected status, where Haitians and Syrians have been here for over 14 years. That's not temporary. And what does Markwayne Mullin do the second we win those Supreme Court cases? He goes on CNN and tells Jake Tapper, oh, no problem, that these Haitians and Syrians can apply for permanent residency. Hell no. We don't want them in our country. They don't share our values, right? That's number one. That was strike one. Strike two is Markwayne Mullin instructed ICE to stop doing traffic stops because these left-wing activists, these Democrat senators, Susan Collins, is in his ear. This guy needs to stop being a wimp. He needs to stop being weak. He needs to stop being stupid. If he's not up to doing the job, get the hell out of the job and we'll put someone there who can.
Right before I let you go, that's quite powerful. So right before I let you go, when you were working on this in those years in the wilderness about what a new Trump presidency would look like to even be more powerful and more focused than the first term, and you were working with people at Heritage and Stephen Miller and all the people and Russ Vogt and Mark Paoletta, Jeff Clark, the entire team, and you guys were going back to the original documents thinking that President Trump would actually be, for the first time, kind of break this Watergate mold, because they make the thing about he's president's lawyer. Well, William French Smith was Ronald Reagan's lawyer forever and was his attorney general. Bobby Kennedy, I realized the pre-Watergate, Bobby Kennedy obviously was nobody was closer than Jack Kennedy than Bobby. And you've had this other times. That doesn't rule him out. But in the project itself, and particularly all the court cases, and both as the chief executive, as commander in chief, and as chief magistrate, the three-legged stool that makes up what the founders and the revolutionary generation thought was the office of the president. Where do you think we are in that project?
I think we're in a good place. And I would say this, what I'm doing at the Article 3 project is fighting every day for American sovereignty. We, the people, are the sovereign citizens of America. We have the power. We have God-given rights, and we lend power to our governments through the loan agreement called the Constitutions. We do not report to a king or a queen. We are not subjects. We are sovereign citizens. And if there is anyone who doesn't understand that, whether that's Markwayne Mullin, who is letting an invasion continue in our country, or Justice Amy Coney Barrett, who just constitutionalized and gave out birthright citizenship to 1.5 million Chinese birth tourists. If anyone gets in the way of American sovereignty, I'm going to light their asses up. And I don't care who they are. That is my mission at the Article 3 project, is to fight for American sovereignty. And that means we protect our border. That means we decide as we the people who comes and goes and who becomes one of us. And if you are too weak, if you are too stupid to understand that, you need to get the hell out of the way.
Mike Davis, one more time, social media coordinates and Article 3 project. And people, we got to go to the ramparts later in the day to support Todd Blanche. Where do people go? Once again, Mike?
And Todd Blanche is not weak or stupid. He's a warrior, and he has proven that over many years of fighting for President Trump, to help President Trump get back into this place right now in the White House where he can save our country. And we are dangerously teetering on that edge. And if we have people like Markwayne Mullin and Justice Amy Coney Barrett who don't get that, we're going to lose our country. Go to Article3project.org. You can donate. You can follow us on social media. What we need to do today with the War Room Posse is take action. Light up both of your home state senators, Democrat and Republican, and tell them to confirm Todd Blanche as the next Attorney General by August recess.
Mike Davis, thank you for joining us, Viceroy. Hopefully see you this afternoon if need be.
Thank you.
Mike will be back in the afternoon if we're going to wrap this up on Todd. Two specials for y'all. Number one, chapter. Go to dial 845 War Room. You get a free consultation on your Medicare. They've already saved the War and Posse up to $1 million, around $1 million. And not just that, gotten the Posse members into the optimum Medicare plan. Extraordinary people, data-driven. They'll walk you through everything. People are just saying, hey, this is what a breath of fresh air. They feel so much better. Trying to take the angst and anxiety away, make sure that you cut your costs, but most importantly, get the plan that is right for you. They don't have a dog in the fight about the plan. They'll give it to you straight. Chapter.
Morning, Mr. Blanche.
Good morning.
Why won't you tell us what became of the $50,000 in confidential money that the FBI reported that it gave to Tom Homan?
I'm not aware of what you're speaking about. To the extent that there have been public reporting about an investigation, I know nothing about it.
Well, the public reporting is that the FBI reported giving $50,000 in the nature of a bribe to Tom Homan, and there's been no report of what became of that $50,000. Will you answer that question? Not now, but will you answer that question? Because we've been asking for a long time now. Your department certainly knows what's happening.
I'm not aware that that's true.
Well, take a look at it, and it's publicly reported, and the FBI reported it, and you should answer the question. That's not the only one. Here's a list of unanswered questions that I have just asked. I don't know how it is that the chairman thinks that you've cooperated with the committee or that you've been transparent with the committee. That is not my experience. You said earlier that you welcome our questions. Great. Answer our questions. That's the real point. Where we've failed to get answers to our oversight questions, we've actually had to revert to the Freedom of Information Act, the general law of government transparency, to try to get answers from the Department of Justice. Here's how we did. Not well. We have this stack of questions that you haven't answered in the nature of oversight. We have this stack of FOIA requests that you haven't answered. And I think it's important for us to believe that you actually take seriously your constitutional oversight responsibilities in order to confirm you, that you actually take seriously your obligations to this committee, irrespective of party, majority or minority, in order to confirm you. So I will ask before we get to a vote on this that you take a look at these and get us answers. Where we have had answers, Mr. Blanche, they have not been informative. They have been blow-offs. So let's move on to Trump versus IRS. Our research indicates that senior DOJ officials have never in the history of the department before faced a judicial inquiry into a fraud on the court participated in by the Department of Justice. That was the inquiry opened in Florida. The question about fraud on the court committed by the Department of Justice remains open in the judge's decision. Here's what she did find. She found that the Department of Justice colluded with the Trump plaintiffs, that the Department of Justice violated DOJ policies in that collusion, that department attorneys were derelict in their responsibilities as DOJ attorneys, that the department failed to zealously advocate on behalf of the United States of America, its true client. And as I said, the fraud on the court question remains open, an unprecedented allegation about the department. As a result of that, the order was transmitted to the New York State Bar for potential disciplinary proceedings. I would like to ask, in addition, since this is new news, the decision was, 2 days ago? I would like to ask that you say to us that you will be willing to provide all of the documents and communications between the Department of Justice and the Trump plaintiffs in that matter.
I'm not aware of any communications. I didn't have any. So if you put a request in, we'll look at it. I mean, obviously that's active, continued litigation in the Southern District of Florida. So it depends on.
Explain how it is active, continued litigation in the District of Florida.
Well, there's been several indications that the parties I never entered notice of appearance, but that the parties intend to appeal the judge's Monday 56-page decision.
Well, it'll be interesting. Do you intend to appeal the Department of Justice?
We weren't really even part of that decision. So to the extent there's something that we can appeal, I very vigorously will encourage the department to do so.
Well, here's the tell. In that case, the Department of Justice filed no answer, filed no agreement with respect to the extension of time, filed no response to the case or controversy amici, filed nothing related to the withdrawal of the complaint, filed no settlement, and filed no response to the fraud on the court inquiry. To me, as a one-time litigator, that looks like really weird behavior. And when for the first time in history there's an inquiry into fraud upon the court committed by the Department of Justice, the silence from the department in response to that is deafening, Mr. Blanche, deafening. And it strikes me that the stratagem here was to file no pleadings, to try to keep the department out of the authority of the court, when what the department knew to be a collusive and false enterprise was blown up in that court. Now, it didn't work because the court found collusion, and it takes two to collude. And they also went on and made the other adverse.
We're going to come back to this. Right there, Sheldon Whitehouse, just to put this in perspective for the Warren Posse, is that one of the leading attackers constantly against President Trump. He's a former litigator, senator from Rhode Island. He is the lead demon on going after Trump. This is about the IRS settlement. And they're trying to disbar, by the way, they're trying to move to disbar Todd. These people are going to do everything in the world to destroy anybody that works for the president. Just be advised that. We're going to get back to this. Bowling's going to join us, a lot of economic news. We're going to go in and out of this hearing. As you can tell, it's a constant barrage against Todd and the president, really attacking the president and getting after Todd for defending him as he should the office of the presidency. Patriot Mobile, 972-PATRIOT. Call right now. If you want to have a prayer session, do that. It's a Christian company. The call center is manned by some of the best people in the company because they're your interface. That may have an East Texas accent. It kind of makes me even greater, right? East Texas, fabulous. 972-PATRIOT. They'll tell you why it's the best phone service in the country. If you sign up and do the switch, you get a free month. You get a month free just because you're Warren Posse. 972-PATRIOT, Patriot Mobile. Short break, second hour is upon us.
We're united, strong and free.